Hello, everyone. Good evening. Apologies for the slight delay. Uh, we hope you've had a good day and we would like to welcome you as well as your family and loved ones. Sorry for that. Excuse me. Sorry, we hope you had a good day and we hope that you as well as your family and loved ones are doing well. And on behalf of AIOUG, I would like to welcome you for our weekly webinar series, which is Knowledge Sharing for Growth. So today we have with us Vipin and Bruno, who are here to speak about 3 ways to grow your IT career to the next level. Master your skills, collaborate, and get visibility. Vipin is a senior software engineer with 12 plus years of software development experience and comprehensive knowledge of Java application development and JVM internals. And Bruno is a Java evangelist at Tools Cloud, leader of various Java users group, and is keen on helping Java developers improve their careers and work on cool projects with great people. Now, before I hand off, I would like to remind you a few things. The presentation will be shared with all the attendees. For all your questions, there's a Q&A panel at the bottom of your screen. Please use that and we will take the questions during the Q&A time. Also, a big request to you to take a virtual selfie and tweet about it. This is to thank our speakers for their time. You can see the Twitter handles on your screen right now. So just clip the screen and take a minute of your time and head over to Twitter and thank Bruno and thank Vipin for sparing their valuable time for us. With that, I would like to hand over the session to Vipin. And Vipin, you can take over the session. And while Vipin is taking over, I have one last announcement to make. Please stay back for a minute after the session completes. We have some really important and exciting announcements about Sangam. So, Vipin.
Thank you, Aishwarya. Hello, everyone. Vipin here. So let me start my presentation. And meanwhile, I see Bruno has joined. Bruno, are you there?
Hey everyone, I'm here.
Hey Bruno.
I just don't see anyone. I just see the screen only.
Okay, Bruno, I'll share my screen and I'll share the presentation. Then you can start this.
All right. So hey everyone. How everyone doing? I don't see you, Vipin. Kind of turn this. Yeah, we.
I'll turn that on. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Cool. Hey, good to see you, Vipin.
Hi.
Awesome to have you here. So I'd like to thank everyone from the AIOU group, right? The Oracle user group in India. That's awesome to have you all here. Thanks everyone for the invitation. It's good to be, it's so fun to be in this moment in like where we actually can travel everywhere like in a blink of an eye, right? So I'm doing a presentation here in India right now, and then later today I'm going to be in Ukraine, right? So that's so awesome. And it's very, very good to be here with Vipin. Vipin is a good friend for a long time. And he's doing an awesome work in terms of open source. So good to have you all here. Now, one thing that I want to ask you, for you that are watching us, is that we want to make this very, very interactive. I know that, please, ask questions, right? Share your questions with us, because we want to make this very, very interactive, and the organization here will tell us all the questions. So, go ahead and start asking questions, because we want to help you on your career to get your career to the next level. So, hey, Vipin, what do you want to do? You want to go ahead and do this presentation when we talk over?
Anything you suggest?
All right. Okay. So yeah. So just start, and I'll help you comment.
Okay. So, hello everyone. As you can see on screen, this talk is about career, right? We are here to show you the practical steps to achieve the most important goals in your career and to get there faster. For that, there are three things. This is about speaker. So there are three ways we think important things to accelerate your career and achieve your highest career objective. First thing is, so we are going to talk about all these three things during the session. The first one is important one is master the skills to become a senior professional, and then collaborate with your peers. Achieve, the third one is achieve visibility to become a valued person in your area or industry. So in this whole talk, we are going to talk about how do you achieve these things. Okay, over
Yeah,
to
because
you, Bruno.
basically, yes, basically the thing that you have to understand in terms of your career. I mean, the technical part is awesome. It's very, very important, right? The technical, your technical skills, your developer skills, your technical ability with Oracle databases, for example, with Oracle products, or whatever technical skills that you have. This gets you into the game, right? Because I think that's the important thing that you have to understand. Once you have the technical skills, you are part of the industry, right? You get yourself into the game. If you don't have the technical skills, then you're still learning. You're still trying to get the technical skills to participate in the industry. But once you have the technical skills, you're part of the industry. But now, just being part of the industry is not enough, right? For you to really grow, for you to really get your career moving in the right direction, for you to really accelerate your career, you have to go beyond, right? Only having the technical skills. So what we're going to talk here about today is actually get you the extra skills, right? That you need to go beyond that. And the most important thing of all in our industry is trust, right? When people trust you, that the thing that I love to say, when people trust you, right, for what you do, they call you when they need you, right? Instead of calling someone else, instead of giving the work to someone else, instead of getting someone else to do the important things, right? So trust is the most important thing that you can generate. So what we're going to talk about here today is ways that you can create trust around you, around what you know, around your expertise.
Thanks, Bruno. So I think the important thing we see here, how can you achieve all these three things, is open source contributions, right? So we'll talk about open source contributions in a while, and then if you have any questions, feel free to ask, feel free to ping in chat. We'll answer that. Okay, as Bruno said, this is going to be very much interactive session. This is for career, and we cannot have a perfect presentation for your career. Your career is something, everybody has a different skills. Everybody has it different teams, different kind of technologies we are working on, right? So you, for your career, you have different kind of questions, right? So feel free to ask that questions. Okay, so I'll talk about open source contributions. How can you achieve all these three things with open source? Okay, so first we'll talk about open source contribution benefits. So the first benefit is you learn with best developers in the world, right? So when you're working with open source projects, you get opportunity to work with best developers in the world, right? So you, when you work with them, you code for them, they make sure what you're coding is right? They give you feedback, and this process is overall going to make you a good developer, right? You learn a lot of things, right? You learn the best practices, you learn the clean code practices they are using, right? And many of the open source projects have their coding style guides and other things, right? So which helps you to understand, okay, this is the way I should code, this is the way a developer should code, right? So
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
because basically, when you talk about open source, right? Open source is, look, I love this definition from open source from my good friend Simon Phipp. They used to be the president of the Open Source Initiative, and Simon says that open source is the natural way that we do code when we are in a network environment, right? I'm sure all of you, so at least some of you remember when we didn't have the internet to do things like travel or go to the bank or talk with friends, right? I mean, we didn't have the network. We had to go physically, right? I still remember when you had to go travel, for example, that you had this slip of paper, right? That you had to present to the that you actually had to go to the airport to pick it up, right? You need the piece of paper. You had to go to the airport to pick it up so you could actually go to the airport on the day of travel. So today, with the internet, right, we actually carry the same piece of paper here in our cell phone, right? So it's a lot. So basically, once you have the network, things change, right? And one important thing for you that we have to understand that in the past, right, before we had the network, if you had to do codes and we had to share code with, we had to code with a friend, what would we do? I was here in my computer, so you had to come here and see, and look with me. In my computer, what's going on. So we had to work. For us to work together, we have to be actually very close together, right? We have to be in the same room, for example. Now, with the network, what happens that everyone has access to everyone. So what is the only way for us to code? Today, it makes no sense for you to go back to piece of paper to travel, or that you have to go to the bank to do a bank transaction. Now, the same thing with open source, right? Once you have a network, the natural way for us to code is seeing each other's code, is working on each other's code, because the whole code is available. Everyone has access to it. So open source is the natural way to develop code once you're in a network environment. Now, some companies still say, no, this is my code, right? Oh, I want to hold my code and no one touches it, right? I see that some companies are still like this, but if you're trying to go to to the airport, for example, and someone says, oh, no, I can't send you your boarding pass over the cell phone. You have to come here to the airport a week later to get a piece of paper. You're going to say, I don't want to travel with that company anymore, right? So the same thing, right? It's more and more companies are like, look, if I don't participate in this open source thing, then I'm not going to have developers working with me anymore. Right? So open source is the natural way to develop code when we're in a network environment. And so the sooner you start to participate in open source, the sooner you can actually participate on this wide network, right? So then, and who is part of this wide network? That's what Vipin is talking about. Who is part of this amazing network? Look, the best developers in the world are part of this, right? The guys that wrote the Linux kernel are there. The guys that wrote the Solaris kernel are there, right? Because Solaris is open source, right? You got the guys that create the internet, right? TCP/IP and DNS and all the things that you use every day. The browser, right? Firefox, for example, right? All of those, the guys that create the cloud, right? You get Docker, the containers. So all of the cool developers in the planet are participating in open source software. Now, the question is, if you want to be working with the coolest developers in the planet, are you be like, oh, this is my code, no one touches? Or are you going to be like, oh, I want to be part of this cool community that has developers from all over the planet, that has the best developers in the world? So we invite you to come and participate with us and working with the best developers in the planet, right? Because the cool thing is that not only it helps you improve your process, but you don't depend on your company. You don't depend on anyone, actually, right? You can just go. I mean, if you have a computer, even if you have a cell phone, right? Oh, Bruno, but I don't have a computer. That's not a problem. Even if you just have a cell phone, you can participate in open source, right? So that's the beauty of having all the source code available in the internet.
Thanks, Bruno. So also, I would like to add one thing. Like this is this benefit of open source is aligned with our first goal, right? So we are talking about master the skills, right? So first step is master the skills. So here in open source, you are learning with best developers and you are going to master the skills. I'll also give you one example, right? You can relate. When we join a different team or we are joining a different project in our company or different company altogether, right? So we learn new things. Why? Because every project had certain ways to work, right? And certain design patterns we use in project, right? And all the work revolves around that. When we join a new project or new company, right, then we learn new things, we come across new patterns, new things, right? So that's where we learn, right? So open source projects are something like new thing, right? It's like we have bigger projects like for, I know most of the people here are from database background, so I'll give you database example like PostgreSQL and MongoDB, right? These are some of the examples from database. And if you take example for Java, then Spring is one example, Net is one example. There are several other examples, right? So when you develop in open source, right, you learn new things, you learn new patterns. And when you talk about open source, like use code base, then every module you learn really a lot of new things.
And that's cool because you got for example you guys are Oracle user, right? So Oracle is one of the biggest contributor to open source in the planet. Just Oracle contributes to my Oracle is the owner of MySQL, right? For example, right? Oracle contributes a lot to a lot of database. I mean, there's all kinds of awesome Oracle open source database that Oracle has. So so basically. And Oracle contributes to cloud things, to the Java virtual machine, and it's like fully open source project. So there's a lot of cool, very, very cool open source project right there. And a good way for you to learn is that you might be thinking, but man, Bruno, Vipin, I'm not one of the best developers in the world. How can I go and participate in those things? We're going to talk more about this. But one interesting thing is that for you to learn with the best, right? You can just go read their code, right? This is the best way for you to get started. Just go read code that is available. You want to understand how your database works? Go take a look at the code of an open source database to see how things work. You want to know, how your cloud infrastructure works? Go take a look at the source code of things that already exist, right? So then you can go deeper into your understanding of all those things.
Right, Bruno. So I'll take you to the next benefit of open source, working with large size teams. So open source projects are typically big projects. Like you can take an example of OpenJDK, which is a Java project, Java language development project from Oracle and a few other companies. Okay, so those are typically big projects, right? Thousands of dollars are working in that project, and such a large team. And developers are all around the world in different time zones. All the discussions are over email, Jira, Slack, etc. Right? So you don't meet anyone, right? You don't have meetings daily and all, right? So this is a different way of working you learn, right? And this is one of the skill many companies desire. Many companies who have their offices all around the world, this is very important skill for them. Bruno, do you want to add anything to this?
Yeah, this is really, really important. A lot of times, we think like, but I work in a small team, or my company doesn't have, a very, very large and complicated project that I can learn from, or maybe, I'm still studying and I don't have access to this very, very large project, so I can learn all of that. Just these skills that Vipin is talking about, the collaboration skills. Look, one of the most important skills you can have as a professional. It doesn't mean if you're a developer, if you're a sysadmin, whatever profession you are, right? One of the most important skills of a professional is the collaboration, right? So now being able to collaborate with other people, because I'll tell you what, our industry is built on people. I'm not sure about you, Vipin, but when I was, when I went into computers, I went into computers because I was very bad with people, right? I was very shy, I didn't have courage to say anything, so I was like, I'm not good at people, so let me go work with computers. I remember my mom, when I was a kid, and she would say, oh, Bruno doesn't go out. He doesn't go play with other kids. He stays all the time in the computer. That's only thing he does is be in the computer, because, that's how I was. And for me, when I started, I thought, oh, I'm going to go into computers because computers is like, I don't have to deal with people, right? But that's the biggest lie that I was tricked in, right? Because the computer industry is built on people, right? Software is done by people, for people, is marketed by people, sold by people. So there's people all over, right? So if you, so collaboration, look, I think the only industry that's more collaborative than the software industry, it could be maybe the movies industry, right? Because there's so many different people working in movies. But the software industry is like one of the most collaborative industries in the planet. So for you, if you want to be an awesome professional, it doesn't matter which area you are. If you're a developer or you're a salesperson, it doesn't matter, right? Or on the software industry, collaboration is amazingly important. So how can you practice collaboration in a large team with people from all over the world speaking different languages? How can you do this if I'm a student, right? Bruno, I'm a student. I can't collaborate with all these people. Yes, you can, right? Because open source allows you to collaborate with any kind of project you're interested in, right? So you can go and you can learn, the tools, you can learn the process, you can just watch just by participating, because everything's done in the open. So just by going to the website and following what's going on in the discussions, just by being there, right? You're already learning how to participate in these large projects, right? So this is an awesome way to create great skills for you, doesn't matter what area you are. And by the way, there's a big misconception that open source is only for developers, but there's so much collaboration. Look, in an open source project, there's people that need to design the email, to design the websites, for example. There are people that need to market the open source projects. There are people that need to promote the open source projects. There are people that need to to do the images, right, for the website, to do the design. So there's so many different people in an open source project that doesn't matter where you are. I can guarantee that you can find a spot and you can find a place to participate.
Right, thanks, Bruno. I'll go over the next advantage here. Improved unit test cases, right? So every developer knows this is very much important, right? But we don't write it always, right? That is also true. But when you work with larger teams, right, you really learn an importance of unit test cases, right? And in open source projects, right? So open source projects, any developer from anywhere, right, can contribute. So it's his responsibility to make sure his code is right. So he needs to put perfect unit test cases as well. And if you don't write it, people tell you, right, this is missing, you can add this, you can improve this. So that improves your skill to write unit test cases, which is very important for any IT developer. Over to you, Bruno. Anything you want to add here?
Yeah. So basically, so look, one of the most important skills that we have in terms of software development, and it's, look, I tell you this, and VP knows this very well. This is very underrated because lots of people think, oh man, testing. Let me send this to the tester people, right? But if you a lot of developers that I know, a lot of professional developers think, but Bruno, testing is just going to take the project longer. We need more people because we're doing testing, right? But the truth is, science shows that the more you test your project, the more you get bugs before production, right? That's what science shows. The more you get bugs before going to production, the faster you finish your project, right? Projects that don't get lots of bugs before going to production, they actually end up taking longer, right? So if you want to do a faster project, a better project, a project that really solves people's problems, you have to learn how to do testing. And this is an awesome way to start an open source, by the way, right? Because no one likes to do testing. That's kind of like what our mentality. Developers don't usually like to do testing. So if you say, okay, guys, I like to do, I want to learn more about the project. So let me do the testing. So when you go and you do the testing, then what happens? You are very welcome in any open source project, right? Because look, if the developers doing the project are not interested in doing testing, but testing is so important, if you say, I can do the testing, right, then they will accept you immediately in the project. And that's an awesome way to start participating. And then, once you know more about, and by the way, testing code is an awesome way to learn the project, to learn the codes, the existing code, to learn the people, right? Because you're going to know who are the person that did the code that did not pass the test, for example, right? And so, being participating in the testing phase helps you connect with the whole project at once. And so once you do that, then you're going to be much more equipped, first of all, to do better coding on your own project, but you're also going to be much more equipped to actually participate in the open source project in a better way. So I suggest you to start with this.
Thanks, Bruno. I'll go over the next benefit. Your code quality is visible. So if you're looking for a job, if you are going to a new employer, or if you are going to a new project, right? Everywhere we see interviews, right? But interviews, people can ask a lot of questions. But if you have your code quality, like if you have your code on GitHub, right? Let's say you're working for an open source project, your code is on GitHub, right? That's visible. Your new managers can go to GitHub and check the code quality, right? And they can see your strong areas. They can understand you better, right? So this is very, very important, very much important for any developer. Okay. Bruno, anything you want to add here?
So this is the trust part I was talking about at the beginning, right? Look, the most important thing you can do in your career is create trust, right? Is people trust you. And so once you have the trust of your peers, trust of your managers, trust of people from the industry, trust from your colleagues on open source project, once you have trust, then your career is in a very, very good path, right? So that's why once you participate in open source, what happens? Your code, it's visible, right? The things that you did become public. And there's no better way to create trust than when people can see what you did. Oh, I can see here. Look at this code that Vipin did here, right? And by the way, look, Vipin, for example, participate on OpenJDK, right? The open source project that creates the Java virtual machine. So if you're using Java anywhere in your project, right, there is code from Vipin, right? So I mean, if there is a Java VM anywhere in your project, there is code from Vipin right there. Think about this, right? So, if Vipin comes in to any company and they say, Vipin, do you know anything about Java? He's going to say, do you guys use Java? And they say, yes, we do. So there's code, there's my code right there. So you're running my code already, right? So what else do I need to prove, right? In terms of, if you trust me or not. You trust me enough to run my code in your project, right? And by the way, if you're running an Oracle database, there's a Java VM inside the Oracle database, right? So there's Vipin codes everywhere, right? So think about this. So, this is an awesome way to create trust. Look, you trust me enough to run my code in your production server. So are you not going to trust me enough to hire me, right? Or on anything else? So trust is the best way to get your career moving. And, once you have your code, you participate in open source, your code is visible. Your code is available so people can see this. But more than that, people trust you because you're running your code in their computers, right, already. So that's an awesome way to get, to get a new job, or to, let's say it doesn't even need to be a new job, right? Let's say someone says, oh, you know what? We have this problem in a Java VM here. Does anyone in our team knows how to fix it? And you can say, yes, I participate in an OpenJDK project, so I can take a look. I understand the code of the Java VM, right? So I can take a look at your problem. So you create trust inside your project. You create trust inside your company. It puts you in a better position to get, to participate in more interesting projects.
Thanks, Bruno. That was an amazing example. And I would like to add one more point here. Like, when we write our resume, right, we write, okay, this is the project I worked on, right? And we just write 2 or 3 lines. We cannot write much more than that, right? But I think this is the best way you can put on your resume. I worked on this. This is the feature I developed, or this is what I'm doing in open source project. So this gives you more benefit, right? People can go and see, okay, yes, this is what he did, and we can go and check as well how's the code quality and everything they can check. I'll go to the next.
That's awesome. Look, you're a lot of things, like, when you create a resume, what's your resume, right? It's your portfolio of projects that you participated, right? Now, the interesting thing is that most projects that we participate in, and I know this because I work with big banks and huge companies. I'm a consultant here in Brazil, and so we have my company works with huge customers. And I understand that most of what I do inside those companies, right, it's private. I mean, I can put in my resume, I work for this awesome bank here, right? But then people are going to say, okay, so, but what is that? What is this software that you did? And you're like, you can't see it because it's behind the firewall, right? It's like, it's inside the project. You can't really see the code. You can see the project itself. So I was very lucky to participate in some of the largest public projects in Brazil, right? So I've worked for huge projects that everyone in Brazil has to use. For example, I help write the income tax application. So every single person in Brazil that has any kind of income has to go once a year and write their income tax application in the software that I wrote. So I'm very lucky, right? Because I can show, you can say, look, do you file taxes every year? Yes. So you run my code. So I can say that, right? But most developers can't say that because their software is running inside a company. So it's not the whole country that uses the software, right? Now, if you put your code, so when you say that, oh, I work on this and this and this project, people say, okay, but what this project does, I don't know. I never seen it. Now, if you have an open source project, you can put like, I work on this and this and this open source project. You're like, man, I can look at it, right? I know this project because it's public, right? So that's an awesome way to create a portfolio. So, and by the way, today we have things like, on GitHub, for example, you just point people to your GitHub account and your portfolio is there, right? So you don't even have to prepare your curriculum anymore. And by the way, that's even more important than that. Recruiters and companies, they're looking for, look, it's even not, I don't even care about the recruiters, right? The important thing is that you're participating in an open source project, right? And so someone else is participating in the same open source project as you. And if that someone else needs someone to work with them, they're going to say, hey, let me look at the people that I already know that are participating on my open source project with me. So I already trust them. And they look around and say, hey, I see this Vipin guy here. It's a good guy, right? I work with him all the time. We exchange emails. I have a position that's going to be good for Vipin. So I can call Vipin and say, hey, Vipin, do you want to work for me? Right? So that is the way that it works. I think that's going to be our next slide, but I'm already going over on this. But the thing is, having your portfolio visible, that's what going to make you a very desirable person in the market.
Yeah, that's right, Bruno. Absolutely right. Now I'll go to the next benefit, and that's most important benefit here. I would say you get your dream job. So when you work for an open source project, right, you work for a significant duration, you become expert in that particular area, right? When I say expert, that means, all of us, we work on some software, right? And then when we work on that software for 6 months or 1 year, depending on the complexity of project, we become expert in that area, right? So that gives an advantage to us, right? So when, let's say, we are working I'm working on some open source project. Let's say I'm working on PostgreSQL. I'm developing some particular feature, and some company wants to hire a person who can use that feature. So who's going to be the best person, right? So the person who has developed that feature or who has helped developing that feature, right? That person is going to be the best person, right? Definitely. And it's not about like, okay, some company wants to use that feature. Maybe that company can PostgreSQL in itself wants to hire somebody to develop some new features, right? So they will look for the expert in that particular area, right? If some new developer comes and joins their company, first he will have to learn, they will have to give him training and all. It takes time. But when somebody from open source contribution world, right, comes and who already has an expertise, right, he will be able to start contributing from day one, which is the biggest benefit I see. So it's like, everybody wants that, right? So this is the way you get your dream job. right? So all the companies, all the big companies, if you talk about, right, Google, Microsoft, Facebook, everyone, right, all of the companies, most of the companies are working on open source projects. All of them have their open source projects on GitHub, and yes, and you can go and contribute them today, right? That contribution can be a documentation change, that can be a testing help, like maybe you can add more test cases, maybe you can fix the existing test cases, maybe you can make it more performant, right? And maybe you can pick up some warnings in the code and you can try to fix that, right? But today you can go to GitHub and you can pick up any project you want and you can contribute. So that is big thing, right? And that gets you your dream job. So Bruno, anything do you want to add here?
I want to tell two little stories here, just so you guys have an idea what this thing really means, right? So let's say you're looking for you're looking for a job, right? And you don't have a lot of developers tell me this, Bruno, but how can I apply to this job if I don't have this requirement, right? There's a requirement, they say that you have to know this, and there's a requirement, and I don't know that thing. So how can I apply to a job? They're gonna say no, right? So that's what you expect. You expect people to say no if you apply to a job that you don't have a requirement. So there's a friend of mine, Danielle, right? So Danielle, he was working on open source projects, and one day someone called him and said, look, we want you to work for us. And Daniel said, sorry, I can't work for you. And then the person that called him said, talked to his boss and said, look, he said he can't work for us. And the boss said, what do you mean? Why he can't work for us? Go talk to him. I want to know why he can work for us. And they called him again and said, why you can't work for us? So Danielle said, look, because I don't know English. I can read English. I can participate in an open source project, but I don't speak and don't listen English. So I can't work for you. You're an international company. You're inviting me to work for an international team. I can't work for you. So Daniel did not have the basic requirements to work on that team. So, if he had sent a resume saying, I want to work for you, they would say, no English, get this guy out of here. We don't want him, right? That's like the normal thing. But in fact, the boss said, I don't care, right? Call him, tell him that we're going to send an English teacher every day to his house for him to learn English. But I want him working for us. Now, do you know why that happened? And he didn't send a resume. The guys called him. You know why that happened? Because one day, the boss of that project, he was looking at, the source code and said, who is this Daniel guy here? And people said, oh, it's a guy in Brazil that helps us out with. Do you guys realize that Daniel writes 70% of our mobile app, right? He wrote 70% of the mobile app. Why this guy's not working for us? And they said, we don't know. So go hire him right now. There's no reason why he's not working for us. He's already working for us, right? So I want to make sure that he's part of the team. And so Daniel got this awesome job. And I was talking to him the other day. He said, Bruno, I was just doing what I like it. I used the project, so I was just kind of doing fun things for me, right? So so that's why you want you to understand. Being part of an open source project, there's no other better developer. In case of Daniel, there's no one else in the planet that they could hire that would be better than Daniel, because he already wrote the code everyone was using, right? So that's an awesome way. And there's a second story I want to tell you is that a friend of mine, one day he told me, Bruno, I want to work for Disney. I said, what? You want to work for Disney? He said, yeah, I want to work for Disney because I think that's my dream since I was a kid. And I said, okay, so let's make you start working for Disney today. He said, what do you mean, right? Is it possible? I said, yeah. And so we went to the Disney open source project. We just Google and say Disney open source. So there's a page of all the Disney open source projects. And I'll tell you what, every single project is awesome. You know, they have all kinds of this awesome image manipulation and video kind of things. I mean, very, very sophisticated, cool open source projects. And I was like, man, I want to work for Disney too, right? Look at this awesome projects. And so we look at this and the guy said, okay, so I can start working for Disney today. Yeah, that's the truth. So every single company in the planet, you know, either every single one, every company you want to work for, every company they either have open source software or they use open source software. You know, so you get, for example, in the Java world, right? We have Hibernate. You know how many companies use Hibernate? Like huge amount of companies use Hibernate. You have things like Jenkins. You know how many companies use Jenkins? Even companies that don't use Java use Jenkins, right? You know, you get in terms of database, how many companies use MySQL? I mean, there's every single and all kinds of companies on the planet use MySQL. You know, another database, MongoDB. You know, there's all kinds of companies that use MongoDB. You know, you have you know, IDEs, right? Eclipse. How many companies use Eclipse? Or languages, you know, Ruby, PHP, Java, Python. How many companies use Python? You know, if you want to go in artificial intelligence, there's so many artificial intelligence open source projects. If you want to go in machine learning, there's so many open source machine learning projects. You know, if you want to go in big data, I mean, there's all kinds of awesome big data projects, like Elasticsearch, like a big data project. If you want to go in the cloud, you know, so many cool open source projects in the cloud. So if you think about, okay, so let me see which company I want to work on, right? And then you think about, okay, so I want to work for this company. Which open source projects do they use? Are in the cloud? Okay, if they are in the cloud, they use all this open source software. Are they developing software? Yes, they are developing software. Which language they develop software in? Oh, they develop software in this. So they use this kind of open source. So any company that you want to work for has an open source project or uses an open source project. You can go and participate on those projects to be hired by the most amazing companies in the planet. And by the way, today, with everything being remote, you can really go after any kind of company that you want, right? You can work on a company near your house if you want, because you can walk there and be easily work for that company, or you can work on a company across the planet. That's all good and fine. And, you know, Vipin here, I think you're gonna do a demo now, right? So Vipin here has been doing this, right? He has been working on open source codes, even, you know, on his own time, right? And he was able to find like small periods of time during the day where he can work on open source projects. So do you want to go ahead and show a little bit what you did, Vipin?
Yeah, sure. So this is kind of these are the slides, you know, this is a Java project, OpenJDK, right? We talked about. So
yeah, so just a context, right? You know, OpenJDK. So everyone knows Java, right? So, you know, Java is one of the most important programming languages in the planet. For you to run Java, you have to use a special software called the Java virtual machine, right? So just gonna, you know, I know there might be some database people here that might not be familiar with it. So let me just explain that. So you have Java, the language, but for you to run a Java application, you need this thing called the Java virtual machine, JVM, right? And so the Java virtual machine is a software you install on your computer, or install on your servers, whatever. You can install inside the Oracle database. There's a Java virtual machine inside the Oracle database because you can write stored procedures in Java if you want. So there is a Java virtual machine inside the Oracle database. Now, for you, you know, so this piece of software, Java virtual machine, there is an open source project called OpenJDK. So OpenJDK comes from Open Java Development Kits, right? So the JDK is basically the virtual machine plus a lot of tools, right? So OpenJDK has the virtual machine, but it also has the compiler. It has, you know, performance analysis tools. You have, you know, profilers. It has all this kind of, I mean, all kinds of tools for you to develop Java. So, but the virtual machine is right there inside the OpenJDK project. So this is a completely open source project. Is licensed under the GPL license. That's a free software license. And so basically, you know, it's a complete open source project. It has thousands of contributors on OpenJDK. There's a lot of people that participate. You know, you have all kinds of companies participating. So Oracle, it's a heavy participating in OpenJDK. That have dozens of Oracle developers participating in OpenJDK. You have companies like Red Hat. Red Hat has a huge participation on OpenJDK. IBM, well, Red Hat and IBM are the same company now, but anyway, right? So IBM has huge participation in OpenJDK. You have smaller companies like Azul. Azul is a company that creates Java virtual machines. And they also participate on OpenJDK project. You have communities like, SoJava, the user group that I run here in Brazil, the London Java community in London, and all kinds of other user groups participate on the OpenJDK project. So you have, big companies, small companies, communities. You have all kinds of people participating in the OpenJDK project, and that project creates the Java virtual machine. So if you're running Java in any way, right? Well, OpenJDK was created on Java 7, right? So if you're running Java 7, 8, or any other version of Java, you're running code from OpenJDK because that is the project that creates all of those versions of Java. So by the way, it's a huge project. I don't know how many millions of lines of code there is in it, but there's millions of lines of code. There's dozens of different languages. I mean, there's code. I was looking at this graph the other day of what languages are part of the OpenJDK. I mean, you even have VB, right? Visual Basic. There's Visual Basic code inside OpenJDK. It's like crazy. There's all kinds of languages inside this project. It's very, very big project. It's as big as an OS, right? The code for the OpenJDK is as big as a code for an operation system. So it's like very, very big, complex project. And that's the project that Vipin is going to talk about here today.
Thanks for the overview, Bruno. It was really helpful, I think, for everyone.
Oh, by the way, there was a message here in the chat, right? There is a reminder here. So if you have questions, right? We want to answer all the questions, right? So if you have any questions, send us the question. I don't know exactly how you're supposed to send the questions, right? So if you guys from the organization can tell us here, so I can tell to everyone in the audience, right? So send us questions, as many questions as you want, because we want to help you participate in open source. So we're going to answer all the questions that you send us. So send us the questions right now so we can have a chance to take a look at them.
Okay, so while you prepare your question, you send the questions, I'll give you an example, right? Just a very easy way, what can you do in an open source project, how can you start an open source project contribution, right? So this is an example of my project setup, OpenJDK project setup in IntelliJ IDEA. Okay, this is IntelliJ IDEA IDE. Now, IntelliJ IDEA has options to check to analyze the code, right? It analyzes code and it has different things in that, right? Different inspection types it has in analyzing code, right? So when it analyzes code, it gives you okay, these are the problems in the code. So one kind of analysis we perform here is in this screen is declaration has problems in Java doc reference, right? So if I search for this particular problem, there are many problems in OpenJDK, because that being a huge project, there are a lot of problems. You can see in my screen, java.util has 5 errors, right? Java.time.temporal has 2 errors. So I'll take an example of one error here. In java.util, there's a class locale and then method get display variant array, right? And if you look at the right bottom of my screen, you see param bundle, right? So this bundle is actually in red mark. So it is clearly saying, if you look at this fix here, it fix says remove param bundle, because this bundle is not a parameter in the method. So you can look at the code line number 2193. It has in locale as a parameter name, right? It does not have bundle. Maybe earlier it used to accept a bundle as parameter, but now it is in locale, right? So this is very easy fix, right? IDE itself is suggesting this problem. You can just go and fix it, right? Here you can just replace bundle with in locale, but yes, you need to make sure the text is also right. the text says in line number 2190, text says bundle the resource bundle to use to get display names. It should be, it looks like it should be in locale, the locale to use to get the display names, right? So in this particular case, it was very easy, but yes, you need to look at the method to understand what exactly, like how exactly this in locale is used in the method, right? To get the correct text. Okay, so this is one example, like very easy example. You go, you click a button, you analyze the code, you get the warnings, you select some warnings and you fix it, right? And now OpenJDK is on GitHub, right? You can create your PR very easily. Process is also very easy now. And there's one more example I have. So like one more type of analysis is declaration has Javadoc problems. So I'm taking Javadoc related problems because for a new guy, for a beginner, right? This is, I think it is for a big project, it is a first step, right? When you start fixing Javadoc related problems, right? In Java project, you understand the process as well. You understand, okay, yes, this is the process, this is the way I need to create a bug ID. I need to get a bug ID. Then this is the way I need to submit my PR request in GitHub, right? And maybe you need you have some other questions, right? So you understand the process with these, right? So this is kind of the way I started with, right? Now let's look at this particular analysis where we have declaration has Javadoc problem. So if you look at my screen, left bottom, there are a couple of problems here, and we are looking at the problem in java.text, right? Now in java dot, I think I need to, okay, now this is back. So if you look at this problem here, problem I'm showing in get iterated method, okay, the right bottom of my screen, look at this. It is saying add params to custom tags. If you notice, this is not param, which is a standard tag. It is it is a, it has a PARAM, right? It has a extra R. So it is not exactly the param. So Javadoc, the warning is clearly saying either add it in custom tags or just, you need to remove this. You need to fix it. It is not something what people use generally. So this is something, a typo we can fix, right? Very easy fix. We don't need to do anything else, right? So this is one more example where how can you easily start your contribution. Okay. Now I'll also go back to the three ways we talked about initially. I'll just try to give you reference what we talked about in open source contribution. Master the skills, we talked about it, right? You learn with best developers in the world, right? And collaborate with your peers, right? So you collaborate when you work in an open source project, right? You collaborate with uh, all the developers all around the world, right? Maybe there are 1,000 developers in some projects, right? You collaborate with them, you learn to collaborate, right? And then third one is achieve visibility to become a valued person in your area or industry, right? This is where this is where I relate the other benefits, right? Like you are contributing in a project for a long time, right? And then you get your dream job, right? Because you worked on a feature, somebody wants to use that feature, and the person who developed that feature is definitely the best person right there for the job, right? And this is where I relate this achieve visibility. Also I would like to add here, like visibility is like when you work in a open source project, right? People know, right? Like, okay, so if Vipin is working on some project, right? People know, okay, oh, this guy Vipin, oh, nobody knew him earlier, but when he started working on open source project, people knew, oh, okay, yes, he's Vipin, right? So it gives an advantage, right? Maybe when you go to some interview, right? Maybe you meet those people who have already worked with you, or who have already seen your discussions in open source projects, right? Or they know, oh yes, you are the guy, right? So it gives you visibility and makes you a valued person. Okay, do you know anything? Do you want to add here?
Yeah, so basically, we think that open source, actually sharing, right? Sharing your knowledge in open source is an awesome way to share your knowledge. It's a great way for you to get your career moving. And so, Vipin, you just showed us how you did this, how you participate in open source and OpenJDK. And do you think that your participation in OpenJDK has given you more visibility, has given you cool stuff that for you, it has helped you in your company, for example?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. I would say there are a lot of things I'm doing in my company right now. Like we are working on Java. We are Java developers, right? So I work in some latest versions of Java. So if there's some project we are migrating, right? So people come to me, they ask me questions, right? Not even in my project when we are migrating to a newer Java version. Even other projects, people come to me, they talk to me, right? We talk about it, right? What are the problems they could face, if like what should be the version they should move on, right? And a lot of other things, like even if there is a problem, right? If there is a problem, like they don't find any solution easily on Stack or Flow or anywhere, right? Then they come to me, right? What is the next step, right? How can we get it solved, right? Then I know, right? I know what is the process in OpenJDK, right? I can tell them, right? Okay, this is the problem you are facing, it falls into this area, this particular area, this is the mailing list, let's send an email to these guys and you will get a reply, right?
Hmm.
And even if it is a bigger problem, I can tell them, okay, yes, I am an OpenJDK contributor, I can go and create a bug ID for this. I know this is a problem, it is not expected. I can create a bug ID, I can give a reference, okay, this is a code snippet where you can replicate this problem and we are facing this problem, right? So this is where it helps, right? Everybody, even in my project, it helps me.
That's awesome, man. Very, very happy. Okay, so let's go to for question and answers here. So if you're watching us here, please send your question. I mean, we want to help you in terms of your project. But before we actually while you're sending your questions here, let me go. I'm gonna go in the chat here. Hopefully you guys can see this. I'm gonna go in the chat and I'm putting there. There's just 2 books that we want to give for you for completely free. And the organizer can send you an email later on if they want. So basically, Vipin wrote this awesome book called The 5 Steps to Best Java Jobs. So you can go to jfeatures.com right now. I also put jfeatures.com on the web on the chat, so you can just click the link there. But also, and so that's an awesome book that gives you some ideas on how you can improve your Java skills, right? So the better you have Java skills, the more you're gonna have awesome positions and jobs. You don't need to change. Look, by the way, you don't need to change companies to have awesome jobs, right? Vipin's had is growing inside his company because he likes where he works. So you can actually improve your position inside your own company. That's an awesome way to do that. And the other thing is, I'm also giving to you this book called the Best Developer Year, right? So it's a short ebook that helps you plan your year, right? So plan what your objectives are. So if you want to participate in open source, what your objectives are, how you're actually going to have results out of this. So you can go to that link on the just the QR code, the link on the screen, or you can also click on the link that I pasted on the chat, right? So you can have access. So you get 2 books for free, right? Completely free, just by watching this here. And we're gonna hear your questions. What's going on in your life right now? By the way, we're talking about open source here, but it could be any career question that you have, right? Now, if you're suffering with any career issue, if you have any career discussion that you're going through right now, any challenge that you're facing right now, send to us. Vipin, he lives and works in India, right? So so he knows a lot more about the current conditions, what kind of things so he can help you out of this. I have been working and helping developers to grow their careers for the last 25 years, right? So we can definitely help you with any question that you have.
Okay. Thanks, Bruno and Vipin. Thank you so much for your valuable time spending with us today. We are trying to change our community culture because we are too busy fixing the database problems, and we
Right.
are DBAs, developers, and this is the first session we are introducing to our community. That's why you see less people joining. For example, if it is something like a database performance tuning, and you'll see like 500 people joining, right? So I
Yeah, that's
think
not work.
this is the initiative for our users group community, and we like to share this video. And I think the important thing is open source contribution, right? And also you talked about how to acquire skills faster, how to get involved in open source projects, and how to promote. I think there are many things, like especially like one of the example I can say is in UK, if you're contributor to open source, directly get straight to the exceptional talent visa, right? So
Right.
lot of benefits. I think
Well, that's
yeah.
that's a very very cool benefit right there, right, man? Because really, if you can get a visa easier, right, then that's like awesome result by itself, right?
Exactly, exactly, and you can't really build in a day, right? So you can't just keep. I think it's a. I think as Vipin mentioned, spend at least 10 to 15 minutes of time and try to help community. I think we have a different forum here, like we have oracleforums.oracle.com, so where basically we help people, and that is also fine, right? So thank you very much. I'm sure guys, if you have any questions, I'll unmute your speakers. You can ask if you want to, if you're trying to paste, type hard. But we can just wait for a few minutes. If you want to ask any questions, just raise your hand. Then we can unmute yourself. And if you want to ask any questions, yeah, you can ask. But I completely
Yeah. So
understand. This is the first time we are doing with our community, so I can see that they are like little shy. But
no
if it is
problem.
a
So
data,
don't
yeah,
look, don't no need to be shy. And by the way, I understand that you're doing like a development kind of thing for an Oracle database community. That's not. Don't worry. We also work with. I have lots of friends. So for example, there's a good friend of mine, Daniele Monteiro, that she's a database specialist. And so we've been working together to get her career moving for a long time. I can totally help you in your career. So tell me, what's the biggest challenge you're facing in your career right now, and then we can help you out. It doesn't matter if we're not discussing only the technical part here, but Sai was talking about how important this is in terms of your career, participating in open source or participating in the community in general. And it's not only open source, by the way, right? So, just participating in the community, participating here. See, one of the most important things you could do for your career is being here at the Oracle user group, right? Because then you can be here, you can meet the speakers, you can improve your knowledge, you can learn more stuff. I'm sure Sai needs help with lots of different things, right? Because it's so much work to do for a user group, right? So just participating on a community like the user group, it's already an awesome way to do. So when you talk about open source, it's a special community around code, but really any community that you can participate in, like a local user group, the Oracle user group here, tell Sai that you want to help him in anything that you want, your own community inside your company, right? Just kind of join a group of people to discuss technology once a week, for example, during lunchtime or something like this. So in any kind of community that you form, that you participate, that's going to be very awesome for you in your career.
yeah. Thanks, Bruno. So I think, guys, as Aishwarya promised, Bruno, if you don't know, this is our annual conference. It's called Sangam 20. That's a year we started in 2009. This is like 12th
Uh-huh.
year successfully running. It's basically a festival in India, but unfortunately we had to do virtually this year. But all the participants, attendees, please join. It's a free. It's not 5,000 rupees. It's a free. one of the best advantage, since it's a virtual platform, we are able to bring the global world-class speakers, right? So they need to
Mhm.
just spend 45 minutes of their time. They're not traveling to India, they're not staying in a hotel, and they're coming to a conference. So there are many speakers hate travel, right? So I think we basically
I love
picked
it.
yeah. No, you're always welcome, Bruno. But we basically picked a new content, new speakers, right? You never experience. There are repeated speakers because they are the speakers for that particular technology, right? So you can't change, you can't expect other people. But there are many new speakers. We really worked hard to get those speakers confirmation. So it's our job is to basically share this. It's a free, and you can join any of the we actually provided a full meal. You have to make sure that you complete everything, right? So we have, like, 90 plus sessions. It's hard work.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
hard work.
Awesome.
Yeah, hard work for, especially 4 or 5 people in our community. We are working day and night, almost 20 hours a day, right? So
Oh
please use this
man.
platform. And that way, I think, the best thing is spread the word, right? If you're not using, at least others get benefit, right? That's what the
Right.
message.
Yeah,
Super.
that's cool. So congratulations for doing this conference, man. I love this. And if there's anything I can help you in this or next conference, one of the things that I do a lot is help the speakers be a better speakers, right? So if you want to run, for example, like a speaker session to help your speakers prepare for the conference, feel free to let me know. But that's awesome that you're doing this, and everyone watching here, you should go in and look, benefit from the fact that a lot of those conferences this year is completely free because because we can get more attendees, and so that's an awesome way of doing things. So please feel free to join in, and that's going to be awesome.
Thanks, Bruno. I think we will schedule another call. I think one of the important thing is we are also encouraging our community to come and speak, like starting with 15 minutes, starting with 30 minutes, and go up to 1 hour, right? So I think definitely we need your help. I'm sure you are really, expert in that area. We would like to, engage you in maybe in the month of Jan, right? I'll reach out to you
Right.
once we have this conference over. I think we will reach out to you, Bruno. And thank you very much, Bruno and Vipin, especially sitting in India. And thank you very much for your time. And with that, we are closing the session.
Okay, so before we
Thanks,
go, I'm
all.
just going to tell you this. So I'm leaving here in 20 minutes. I'm going to be in another conference, in another effort that's called the Cloud Tech Days. So it's completely free. If you're interested in the cloud, I'm putting the link in the chat right now. I'm going to hang up here and start the next one, Cloud Tech Days, if you want to join me next. All right. So thanks everyone. It was awesome to be here with you. Congratulations for the IOU Jug for doing all these. And thanks a lot, Vipin, for putting together. So if Vipin helped me a lot on this and putting all the things together. So thanks a lot, Vipin. That's great. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bruno,
Good
thanks
night,
all.
guys, and have a nice day, Bruno. Bye.